I did.
Okay, and so now we are going to be doing the PateChoux. All right, the PateChoux, the mise en place for the PateChoux. We have 1 cup of just water, tap water is fine. We have 1 stick or 4 ounces or 1/4 pound of butter. Let me show you that just to make sure, because some of my students have a little bit of issue with that. The recipe calls for 1 stick of butter, so they use like a whole pound. Actually, a whole pound of butter is 4 sticks of butter, right? So think about that. So it's 4 ounces, right? You need 1 cup of all-purpose flour. You can use bread flour if you'd like. It's not that big of a deal difference as far as it goes. And then we have 4 large eggs. I've gone ahead and cracked them ahead of time, and then a little bit of salt. All right, I'm using the Himalayan sea salt. You can go ahead and use whatever kind of salt you like. For this one, it's really just like that. So what we want to do is we want to take our pot. You can see here, just a regular pot. I'm going to go ahead and put the water in the pot. I'm going to add the butter to the water. All right, and I'm going to put it onto the stove. And I'm going to put it on full blast. And again, I want it to get done quickly, so I put it on full blast. I'm going to go ahead and add that 1/4 teaspoon of salt. All right, so or a good 3-finger pinch is fine. All right. Meanwhile, what I'm doing is while it is coming up to a boil, I want to make sure that I have a rubber spatula nearby. So I have my nice Santa Claus rubber spatula here. I'm going to go ahead and just keep stirring that every once in a while. I did cut the butter into little pieces. One of the reasons why I cut the butter into the little pieces is because of the fact that if you put a big chunk in there, the water is going to start to boil and evaporate away. And if the water boils and evaporates away, you're going to have less water, right? The recipe is not going to come out because you teach a PateChoux. And one of the reasons why it is a core competency for the course is that if you know PateChoux, you can make things like profiteroles, you can make things like cream puffs. You can make, right, you can take the profiteroles and fill them with smoked salmon mousse and make a smoked salmon canapé. You can fill them with sour cream and caviar and make another type of canapé if you'd like, an hors d'oeuvre. You can serve them warm. You can cut them open and put ice cream in them and cover them with chocolate sauce. You can actually pipe them into an eclair type like I have here. I'm going to show you that in a minute. So the eclair type, you can actually fill that with PateChoux cream, cover it with chocolate, and you have chocolate eclairs. You can actually put it into a really, really fine PateChoux bag and pipe it over some sort of a container and make a edible basket if you'd like. It's endless what you. So in other words, if you learn how to make the PateChoux, you've increased your ability in the kitchen by 100, right? So I want to make sure that everybody has a firm grasp of the PateChoux. So again, it's coming to a boil now. I have my flour nearby. I have my eggs nearby. We're going to actually teach you using the KitchenAid mixer today. One of the reasons why we're going to teach you using the KitchenAid mixer is because the fact that that's the way it's done out in the industry most of the time. All right? I'm not going to pay a guy $25 an hour to make it by hand. Now, for your practical at home, if you don't have a stand-up mixer, you don't need one. You can actually use a hand beaters, okay, to do it. You can actually also just use your hand. Just use a wooden spoon and just mix it up with your hand. You want to incorporate each egg at each stage. So we're going to do that. So, all right. So we're going to go ahead and allow this to boil. It's almost at a boil right now. Meanwhile, I also, very, very important, is to make sure that you set your oven to about 450 degrees. You can turn it down a little bit afterwards if your oven runs a little hot. And that is a conventional oven or home oven. If you're using an oven that you'd find at school or at in a commercial kitchen, and it is a convection oven, meaning that it blows the air around inside the oven, if that's the case, then go ahead and turn it down, leave it on like 375, 400, right? Because a convection oven, which blows the fan around inside, evacs the cool air and maintains a proper temperature, which will maintain exactly what you need. So anyway, so now I am at a boil, and so you can tell while I'm at a boil, immediately, boom, my butter has melted. So you can actually see my butter has melted. You can see it there. My butter has melted. I'm just going to go ahead and add all of my flour all at once, just like that. I'm going to put it back on the stove. I want to keep it on the stove for the first minute or so of stirring. What I want to do is I want to incorporate that flour. When I'm incorporating that flour, it's mixing with the butter. it's mixing with the salt and the water, and it's forming a paste, right? A paste, a thick paste. After about a minute of mixing, what I want to do is I want to shut it off. And I want to continue to mix for another minute or so until it forms into a ball, all right? We call this, in the industry, we call this as a slang word because of the fact that it's a PateChoux, right? The name of the recipe is PateChoux, C-H-O-U-X, right? PateChoux. We actually will call that shoe paste, right? So it's kind of funny what we call it out in the industry. But again, we want to go ahead and mix that up. We want that to come off the sides of the pot. You can see here how it's coming off the sides of the pot. All right, if you did it wrong, you didn't measure out the water and the flour and the stuff, it won't behave like this. So you want to make sure that you measure out everything carefully. I'm going to go ahead and just literally just plop it right into my my KitchenAid mixer, or my stand-up mixer, right? I'm going to go ahead and turn this a little bit so you can see that. We'll crank it up. I'm going to turn it on full blast. When I turn it on full blast, I'm going to wait until the steam starts to escape a little bit. When the steam starts to escape a little bit, it'll cool it down quickly. And as it cools down a little bit, then I'm going to be able to add my eggs. If I add my eggs too early, I will make scrambled eggs. And now I love scrambled eggs, I just don't like them incorporated into my PateChoux, right? So I want to make sure that we have a beautiful PateChoux. So we want to allow that steam to escape a little bit. You can actually touch the bottom of the bowl to see how hot it is. If it's too hot, just wait a couple of seconds. All right? And then those eggs are cold, coming right out of the refrigerator. And we're just going to go ahead and add one at a time. So one at a time. So I add one egg, and I allow it to emulsify, come together. All right, I allow it to come together. I'm going to put my glove on. I'm going to show you why I'm going to put my glove on right now. I do a test. So I'm going to put my glove on here. I'm already washed my hands, but we're going to put our glove on anyway. All right, so we're going to add our next egg. We're going to allow that to emulsify. In the meantime, I have a pastry bag. You can actually use a cloth pastry bag. I have a disposable pastry bag here. I'm going to actually turn that down, kind of like if you were cupping your shirt. One of the reasons why I'm going to do that is because I don't want the PateChoux to get on the outside of the bag itself. I'll hold on to that. I'm going to go ahead and add the third egg. All right, I'm going to allow that to come together again at the end of adding the third egg. It's a lot faster this way. If you did it by hand, it would just take a long time, right? So once that third egg has incorporated, what I'm going to do is I'm going to check to see the texture or the consistency of the product. So I'm going to put some in between my thumb and my finger. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to stretch it out. I'm going to just go like that. And if it sticks together and stays together more than an inch, then it's good. Then it's good to go. You have the right consistency. And the reason why we check it is because the fact that we want that consistency to be perfect. Sometimes the eggs are really, really big. Sometimes your flour is kind of not as dry as other times and such. So anyway, all right. So I'm going to go ahead and add the last egg because you can see how it was too dry. Alright, so now I have PateChoux, is all of it's added. Sometimes I might even have to add more than 4 eggs. Right? Let me check. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put some of the product in between my thumb and my finger, and I'm going to separate my thumb and my finger like that until I have at least 1 inch of stretchable glutinous mass, right? Just like that, okay? So once I've done that, I realize that it's the perfect consistency. All right, please, we are putting the questions into the chat. Thank you very much. All right, so we'll answer the questions at the end. And then, so what I have now is I have the PateChoux. Everybody's on mute, please. I guess not. That's right. All right, so I'm going to take my PateChoux. I'm going to place it into my bag here. Place my PateChoux into my bag. And after I've done that, make sure that I don't have any left in the, I don't want to waste any, right? why we use a rubber spatula. I'm not gonna waste any, and then we'll put this aside. I go ahead and I have a scissor here. I'm just gonna cut. You can actually use a straight tip for this. I'm gonna push down the product inside the bag as much as possible. And then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna cut about a 1/4 inch tip, all right? 1/4 inch tip off the end. Just like that, boom. All right, so then what I'm gonna do is, here's one of the tricks of the trade. And can you see it? I'm gonna move it over a little bit and down so you can see it. There we go. And what I'm gonna do is I'm going to take a small amount of the product and put a dot on each corner of the tray. All right, and that will hold my parchment paper down, especially if you're using a convection oven. It won't fly away later on. We don't like fly away PateChoux, right? We like some things to fly away, but not necessarily our PateChoux. All right, so then what I'm gonna do, again, when we're holding a pastry bag, one of the ways we hold a pastry bag, it's funny because if you took, say, 10 certified executive chefs and you line them up and you ask them to maybe truss a chicken, they would all truss a chicken a different way and it would all be exactly the same way. Maybe you'd ask them to dice an onion. Maybe there would be 10 different ways to dice an onion. If you go into a pastry shop and you ask a chef to start piping with a piping bag, he's going to do it exactly the same way every single time. And that is, he's going to take the product, he's going to twist the bag, he's going to use this part of his thumb and part of his hand, and he's going to pinch that, and he's going to hold on to that like really, really firm, right? And then he's going to twist, and then he's going to use these fingers to squeeze. So we got these 4 fingers squeezing, and we got this one holding it tight, right? And we're just going to keep, and then this hand here, this is for guiding, right? So what I'm going to do now is I'm actually going to make some round, 1 inch round, about a 1/2 inch tall little balls. And those are going to be called the profiteroles, right? Profiteroles. We could use these for our canapes. The 121 class has a practical exam that requires them to make canapes and hors d'oeuvres on Tuesday. You guys can actually make these and then put them in the freezer and then hold them until Tuesday morning and then warm them up in the oven or whatever, and they'll be perfect, right? So we go ahead and make the balls there. Then also what I'm gonna do is I'm actually gonna make some of them into the eclair shape. The eclair shape, I'm actually going to just go sideways, and I'm gonna go, these are mini eclairs, so I'm doing about 1 inch. All right, mini eclairs, so I'm gonna do about 1 inch. If you want them to be large eclairs, you cut the hole in the bag a little bit larger and make them a little bit longer, all right? Now this is going to, you wanna make sure that they're separate on the tray. The reason why is because when these cook in the oven, they're going to expand by at least 2 times, right? So they're gonna expand by 2 times. So we're gonna go ahead and make these. All right, so what I've done is, after I've done that, what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna take a little bit of clean water. I'm just gonna use my finger, and I'm going to, again, they're gonna go in the oven, so I don't need a glove on right now, but just go ahead and get rid of those little tops on there, the little nipples on there. The reason why those will burn in the oven, right? And I wanna make sure that everything is nice and smooth, so a little bit of water on your finger and just touch the top of the little nipple, and it will actually be gone, right? So then what I'm gonna do is, again, I didn't pipe them all, because in the interest of time, I'm not gonna do it. Then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take this, I'm gonna put it into the oven. All right, into the oven. Now, I'm gonna take the ones that I made already out of the oven. As you can see, we have beautiful PateChoux puffs. Now, the #1 mistake my students make is that they pull them from the oven too early. All right, they pull them from the oven too early. Don't pull them from the oven too early, all right? Everybody raise your right hand, say, I state your name. I promise not to pull them from the oven too early, right? So, okay, how do you know if they're cooked all the way? All right, so what you'll do is you'll reach in the oven and you'll grab one of them. They're gonna be a little hot. You're gonna, whoo, hot. And you're gonna open one of them up. And you're gonna make sure that you look inside, that they're nice and dry inside, okay? If they're nice and dry inside and hollow, that's when you know they're ready to come out of the oven. If you pull them out too early, they're all going to collapse. It's gonna make this sound, right? Nobody likes that sound, right? Especially in the kitchen, right? All right, so anyway, so we have them all made. You can see how I have here, I have the eclairs shape, I have the profiterole shape. I've also, you can actually make them into a large ring, and it's called a Paris Brest if you'd like. And then there's also another way. I wanted to show you this technique here. Let me grab some gloves for this one. And we're gonna be making the swans, right? The swans. So let me show you real quick. So we have the swans. Let me grab a cutting board here. Cutting board.
Get that out your mouth.
I have the swans here. So what I did was with the swans, I actually made, let me show you real quick how we're gonna do the swan. So to pipe the swan, we make a ball like we did the profiterole and then kind of drag down like that, right? And then we make a little 2 like that, like a number 2 on the platter, and then we bake those just like that. You see how it's a number 2 and it's also a, all right, so what I've done is I've done that already. I have those baked off already. I have the necks here, which are literally like the number 2s. And then I have the, all right, so we'll go ahead and we'll place those, I'll cut these in half. And each one will be cut, each top will be cut in half again. So I cut them in half. Everybody see? Yeah. Cut them in half. And then we're gonna cut them in half again. So that one goes with this one. Make sure that you don't mix them up. The ones that you cut off the one, right? Make sure you keep them together. All right, so then what I'm gonna do is I can actually take a little bit of piping bag or whatever. I'm just gonna use the spoon to take a little bit of that whipped cream that we did in the last demo. And I'm just gonna fill them up with a little bit of whipped cream, right? So just fill them up with a little whipped cream here. Right, you could pipe the whipped cream in there. That would work really well as also, or you could just place it in there like this. And again, you could use pastry cream mixed with whipped cream. We call that a creme royale, right? You can use lemon curd if you'd like. Lots of different things that you could do. You could do a passion fruit mousse like this or whatever. It's endless what you can do. You're only limited by your own imagination when you're dealing with these. Right? Then what we're going to do is we're going to take our necks. We're going to place our necks on top. So 1, 2, 3. And then what we'll do is we'll take our swans, right? And we make a beautiful swan, see? So we make the beautiful swan. So you could dust this with powdered sugar if you'd like or whatever. So we have 1 swan and then 2 swans. You can make 100 swans for 100 guests, right? And you know the food cost on PateChoux is really, really small. One of the things I love about PateChoux is if someone comes to visit me in my house and I'm not ready for them, you know, they just drop by or whatever, I usually make them something made out of PateChoux. And the reason why is because everyone has right now in your refrigerator probably you have some butter, you have some eggs, you have some water, and you have some flour and a little bit of salt, right? So anyway, that's PateChoux. So that's it.